I found the envelope wedged between two cookbooks on the shelf behind my register. My hands were shaking so badly I nearly dropped it. Inside was a cashier's check made out to me for $300,000. I slipped it back into the envelope and shoved it deep into my apron pocket, my heart hammering against my ribs. This couldn't be real. It had to be some kind of mistake. But I knew whose handwriting was on that envelope. I'd seen it every morning for the past 5 years, scrawled on the little notes he left me on the kitchen counter of my diner. Let me back up. 5 years ago, my diner was dying a slow, painful death. Betty's place had been open for 32 years, the last 15 just me running it alone after my husband Frank passed. It sat on a quiet corner in Richmond, Virginia, the kind of neighborhood where everyone used to know everyone, but now half the storefronts were empty and the other half were about to be. I was 63 years old, drowning in debt, and my daughter Linda kept calling from Seattle telling me it was time to close up shop and move in with her and her husband. "Mom, you can't keep doing this," she'd say. "You're working yourself to death for what? 10 customers a day?" She wasn't wrong. Most days I'd be lucky to serve 20 people. My equipment was ancient. My booths were held together with duct tape, and I couldn't afford to hire help. I did everything myself. Cooking, serving, cleaning, ordering. I'd get there at 4 in the morning to start the biscuits and wouldn't lock up until 9 at night. That's when I met Marcus. It was a Tuesday in November, raining so hard I could barely see across the street. I was about to flip the sign to closed, even though it was only 7:30, because I'd had exactly 4 customers all day and I was exhausted. Then this man appeared at my door, soaked through, wearing clothes that had probably been decent once but were now just rags held together with hope. He had a garbage bag slung over his shoulder. I could see he was maybe 50, maybe older, hard to tell under all that grime, but his eyes were clear and kind and just so tired. "We're closed," I said through the glass. He nodded, started to turn away. I don't know what made me do it. Linda's voice in my head probably, telling me I was too trusting, too naive, but I unlocked the door. "When's the last time you ate?" I asked. He looked at me for a long moment. "Yesterday. Maybe the day before. Hard to keep track. Come on in. I've got soup." He hesitated. "I don't have any money." "Did I ask you for money?" That's how it started. I sat him at the counter, heated up the vegetable soup I'd been about to throw out, gave him half a meatloaf sandwich. He ate slowly, carefully, like he was trying to make it last. Didn't say much. "Just thank you and, this is really good and I appreciate your kindness." When he was done, he stood up. "Is there anything I can do? To pay you back? I can wash dishes, take out trash, sweep." I looked around my diner. The floor needed mopping. The dishes were piled up. The bathroom probably needed attention. I was so tired I could barely stand. "You know how to mop?" I asked. "Yes, ma'am. Bathroom's in the back. Mop and buckets in the closet next to it. You clean this place up. We'll call it even." He nodded and got to work. I sat down at the counter, and for the first time in months, I just sat. Didn't cook, didn't clean, didn't worry. Just listened to the sound of someone else working in my diner. An hour later, the place was spotless. Cleaner than I'd had it in years. He'd even wiped down the inside of the windows and organized the storage closet. "You need a place to sleep tonight?" I heard myself ask. He looked surprised. "I've been staying under the overpass on Broad Street. It's all right. There's a storage room out back. Used to be where Frank kept his tools. It's got a cot, a space heater. Not much, but it's dry. You want it, it's yours." "Why are you doing this?" he asked quietly. I thought about that. Because 30 years ago, when Frank and I first opened this place, we were so broke we were eating ketchup sandwiches for dinner. A woman named Dorothy, who ran the corner store, let us buy groceries on credit for 6 months until we got on our feet. Never asked for a dime of interest. Just said, "Pay it forward when you can." So, that's what I'm doing. He extended his hand. "Marcus." "Betty." That night, Marcus slept in my storage room. And the next morning, he was up before me, sweeping the sidewalk out front. "What are you doing?" I asked when I arrived at 4:30. "Earning my keep," he said simply. I made him breakfast. Eggs, bacon, grits, toast, coffee. He ate like it was the first real meal he'd had in years. Maybe it was. "Marcus, I can't pay you much, maybe $10 a day. But you can have breakfast and dinner here, and the room out back. If you want to help out, I could use another pair of hands." "Yes," he said immediately. "Yes, I'd like that very much." Linda called that afternoon. I told her about Marcus. "Mom, are you out of your mind?" she shouted into the phone. "You hired a homeless man? Do you know how dangerous that is? He could rob you. He could hurt you." "He's not going to hurt me," I said calmly. "You don't know that. You don't know anything about him. I know he's a good worker and he needed help. That's enough for me." "This is insane." "I'm coming down there. Don't you dare." "I'm perfectly fine. You've got your own life to live." She hung up on me, didn't talk to me for 2 weeks, but Marcus stayed. And slowly, carefully, we fell into a routine. He'd arrive before dawn, help me prep. He learned how to make the biscuits the way I liked them, how to get the grits just right, how to flip the eggs without breaking the yolks. He was a quick learner, precise in his movements. There was something almost professional about the way he worked. "You ever work in a kitchen before?" I asked him one morning. He paused, his hands still on the cutting board. "A lifetime ago," he said. "Different kind of kitchen." I didn't push. We all have our stories. He'd tell me his when he was ready. The customers noticed him, of course. Richmond's not a big city, and Betty's place was the kind of joint where everyone knew everyone's business. I got questions. Some people stopped coming, but others, they were kind. They'd nod at Marcus, say good morning, leave bigger tips, and the diner started to change. Marcus fixed the wobbly tables. He patched the tears in the booth cushions with material he scavenged from somewhere. He rewired the old jukebox that hadn't worked in a decade, and suddenly we had music again. He painted the bathroom. He fixed the leaky faucet in the kitchen that I'd been putting a bucket under for 2 years. "Where'd you learn to do all this?" I asked, watching him replace the element in my ancient oven. "YouTube," he said with a small smile. "Library's got computers. I go there during the day sometimes." Business picked up. Not a lot, but enough. We went from 10 customers a day to 20, then 25. Marcus suggested we try a daily special, something different each day to bring people back. I let him plan the menu. He came up with things I'd never thought of. Fancy things, but made simple. French toast with bourbon maple syrup, grits with roasted poblano peppers, meatloaf with a balsamic glaze. "Where are you getting these ideas?" I asked. "Just things I remember liking," he said. The customers loved it. Word spread. We started getting people from outside the neighborhood. Young folks, families, even some of the business types from downtown. But I was still barely breaking even. The loans on the building were crushing me. The property taxes had tripled in the last 5 years. The new landlord who'd bought the building was a development company that wanted to tear down the whole block and put up condos. 3 years into Marcus working with me, I got the letter. Eviction notice. They were raising my rent by 400%. I had 60 days to either pay or get out. I sat in my office that night, staring at the numbers. Even with the uptick in business, there was no way. I was ruined. 68 years old, no retirement, no savings, and about to be homeless myself. Marcus found me there at midnight, crying into my hands. "Betty?" His voice was gentle. "What's wrong?" I showed him the letter. He read it slowly, carefully. Then he pulled up a chair and sat across from me. "How much would you need to buy the building?" I laughed bitterly. $300,000 at least. Might as well be $3 million. I've got about $1,800 in my account. He was quiet for a long moment. "If you had the money," he said slowly, "would you keep going? Keep the diner open?" "Of course I would. This place is my whole life. But I don't have the money, Marcus. I'm done." He stood up. "Don't make any decisions tonight. Sleep on it." I went home that night knowing it was over. I'd call Linda in the morning, tell her she was right, start packing. The next morning, Marcus was waiting for me when I arrived. He handed me an envelope. "What's this?" I asked. "Open it." I did. Inside was a cashier's check for $300,000, made out to me. I stared at it. The numbers didn't make sense. Nothing made sense. "Marcus, what is this? Where did you get this?" He took a breath. "It's mine. It's from my money. I want you to have it. Buy the building. Keep the diner. Your money? Marcus, I don't understand. I know. He reached into his pocket and pulled out his wallet. From it, he took out a creased, faded business card. He handed it to me. Marcus Chen, Chief Financial Officer, Dominion Capital Partners. I looked at the card. At him. Back at the card. I don't understand, I said again. He sat down at the counter. 10 years ago, I was CFO of one of the largest investment firms in Virginia. I had a corner office in a high-rise in Arlington. I had a wife, a son, a house in McLean worth $2 million. I had cars and vacations and a country club membership. I sat down next to him, still holding the check, still not comprehending. My son's name was David. He was 22, just graduated from UVA. Smart kid. Brilliant, actually. He wanted to be a teacher, but I kept pushing him to go into finance. Follow in my footsteps, make real money. His voice cracked. One night, he was driving home from a friend's house. Some drunk driver ran a red light, killed him instantly. Oh, Marcus, I whispered. My wife and we fell apart. We tried grief counseling, therapy, everything. But the pain was too much. She left me after a year, moved to Arizona to be near her sister. I don't blame her. I wasn't there for her. I buried myself in work, worked 18-hour days, thought if I just made enough money, achieved enough, it would fill the hole David left. He was crying now. Quietly. One day, I was at the office, putting together some massive merger deal worth $500 million, and I just stopped, looked around at all these people in expensive suits, arguing about money, about profit margins, about stock options. And I thought, what's the point? David's gone. My wife's gone. I've got more money than I could spend in 3 lifetimes, and I've never been more miserable. So I quit, walked out that day, and never went back. Liquidated most of my assets, put it in long-term investments and trusts, set up a foundation in David's name to fund teacher scholarships, and then I just walked away from it all. The house, the cars, the life. But why? I asked. Why live on the streets? Why not just, I don't know, retire somewhere? Because I needed to remember what mattered, he said. For 2 years, I lived in shelters, under bridges, in the woods. I ate at soup kitchens. I stood in line for donated clothes. I slept in the cold and the heat and the rain. And slowly, I started to feel human again. Started to remember that life isn't about corner offices and investment portfolios. It's about kindness. It's about connection. It's about the small moments that make you remember you're alive. He looked at me with those clear, kind eyes. And then I walked into your diner 5 years ago, and you fed me. You gave me shelter. You gave me purpose. You treated me like a person, not a transaction. You taught me that work isn't about climbing some ladder. It's about doing something with your hands that matters to someone, making someone's morning better with a good breakfast, keeping a place alive that makes people happy. I was crying now too. Betty, you saved my life. You gave me a reason to wake up every morning. This place, working with you, it brought me back to life. That $300,000, it's nothing to me. I've got investments worth $40 million sitting in accounts I barely touch. I live on a few thousand a year, and that's more than enough. But you're about to lose the one thing you love because some greedy developers want to make a buck. That's not right. That's not how this should end. I can't take this, I said, though I was still holding the check. Yes, you can, because you already gave me something worth more than money. You gave me my life back. We sat there for a long time, both of us crying, both of us holding on to each other like shipwreck survivors. Linda flew down the next week. She walked into the diner, took one look at Marcus in his clean apron, working the griddle, humming along to the jukebox, and then looked at me. Mom, we need to talk. We sat in a booth. I told her everything. About the check, about who Marcus really was, about buying the building. She stared at me. You're telling me the homeless man you hired is secretly a multimillionaire? Former CFO, to be precise. She started laughing, then crying, then laughing again. Mom, you're the luckiest woman alive, or the craziest. I can't decide which. Both, probably, I said. She looked over at Marcus, who was serving coffee to the morning regulars, chatting with them like they were old friends. Is he going to stay? Keep working here? I hope so. For $10 a day? He won't take more. I've tried. Linda shook her head in amazement. This is insane. This whole thing is absolutely insane. But she was smiling. I bought the building, paid off all my debts, even had enough left over to finally fix the ancient air conditioner and replace the worst of the equipment. Business kept growing. Marcus and I kept working side by side, him on the griddle, me on the biscuits, both of us serving customers, both of us cleaning up at night. People in the neighborhood learned his story eventually. Someone recognized him from his old corporate life, word got around, but Marcus handled it with grace. When people asked him about it, he'd just say, I had one life, and it left me empty. Now I have a different one, and it makes me happy. That's all that matters. Some people couldn't understand it. Linda's husband, Richard, he kept trying to convince Marcus to come back to finance. Consulting, just part-time, you could make millions again, he'd say. Marcus always declined politely. I've got everything I need right here, he'd say, gesturing around the diner. And he did. We both did. On the 5-year anniversary of the day Marcus first walked through my door, I closed the diner early, made him his favorite meal, meatloaf with balsamic glaze, roasted potatoes, green beans. We sat at the counter, just the two of us, eating and talking and laughing. You ever regret it? I asked him. Giving up that life? He thought about it, his fork hovering over his plate. Every single day I think about David, about what I lost. But no, I don't regret this. This life, working here with you, it's helped me heal. It's taught me that happiness isn't about how much you have. It's about what you do with what you've got. It's about who you share your coffee with in the morning. It's about making someone smile with a good breakfast. It's about having a place where you matter. You matter, Marcus. You matter so much. So do you, Betty. So do you. I still run the diner. I'm 70 now, and Marcus is 60. My knees hurt, his back aches, but we show up every morning at 4:30. We make the biscuits, we cook the eggs, we serve the coffee, we listen to people's stories. We laugh at the regulars' jokes we've heard 100 times. Linda comes to visit a few times a year now, brings the grandkids. They love Marcus, call him Uncle Marcus. He teaches them card tricks and tells them terrible jokes and makes them special pancakes shaped like animals. Last month, a developer came in, offered me $2 million for the building, wanted to turn it into some farm-to-table concept restaurant with exposed brick and Edison bulbs and $30 entrees. I told him no. Marcus was proud. Good for you, he said. This place is worth more than money. And he's right, because 5 years ago, I was drowning and a stranger walked through my door in the rain. I gave him soup and a place to sleep, and in return, he gave me everything. Not the money, though that saved the diner. He gave me friendship. He gave me purpose. He gave me proof that kindness matters, that people matter, that sometimes the most valuable things in life come wrapped in the most unexpected packages. David would have been 32 this year. Marcus keeps his photo behind the register, right next to the old picture of me and Frank on our wedding day. Sometimes I catch Marcus looking at it, and I know he's still carrying that pain, but he's carrying it differently now. Not like a burden, but like a reminder of what matters. This morning, Marcus made coffee, and I made biscuits, and we served 46 people breakfast. We laughed with the regulars, welcomed the newcomers, gave free refills to the elderly couple who come in every Tuesday. We cleaned up together, restocked the supplies, planned tomorrow's special. And when we locked up at 9, I looked around my little diner with its mismatched chairs and its ancient jukebox and its menu board that's been the same for 30 years, and I thought about how close I came to losing it all. But I didn't, because a man who had everything found his way to my door with nothing. And together, we discovered that everything and nothing are sometimes the same thing. Marcus still sleeps in that storage room out back, won't take a nicer place, says he likes it, likes being close to the diner. On cold nights, I bring him extra blankets. On hot ones, I bring him a fan. He still pays me rent, $10 a day, puts it in the jar by the register. I stopped arguing about it years ago. Some mornings, when I arrive before dawn and see him already there, sweeping the sidewalk or prepping the coffee, I think about what Dorothy told me all those years ago. Pay it forward when you can. I tried to pay it forward. But Marcus, he paid it back 1,000 times over. Not with money, with showing up, with friendship, with teaching me that the value of a life isn't measured in dollars or titles or corner offices. It's measured in the people you serve, the hands you hold, the mornings you show up to do the work that matters. And this work matters. This little diner on a corner in Richmond, it matters. The biscuits matter, the coffee matters, the conversations matter, the community matters. Marcus matters. I matter. And that $300,000 check that saved my diner? It's framed on the wall now, right next to David's photo, not because of the money, but because it represents the moment when someone who had lost everything gave me everything, so we could both find what we'd been looking for all along. A place to belong. A reason to wake up. A proof that kindness compounds in ways no investment portfolio ever could. That's worth more than all the money in the world.